hot off the digital press, new research from Dow with your partners from Cattle, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
More than 2 in 5 Canadians have changed their behavior to save money at the grocery store. And I see switching behavior. I see substitution behavior. I see format changes. I see Albertans leading the country in reducing consumption of meat. That took me that took me by surprise a little bit. What did you learn? And tell me about the study.
Well, first of all, as you and I, we go into a grocery store. It's a bit of a lab for us. We walk around, we observe, but we were wondering if Canadians actually felt the same. Are they noticing something different? Are they noticing higher food prices? And overwhelmingly, 86% of Canadians actually have noticed that prices are much higher than 6 months ago. And so that's one thing. The other thing that we've noticed that was really interesting is that the older you are, the more likely you have noticed that the prices are higher. And the younger generations, like the millennials and the Generation Zs, they've noticed, but not as much. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, and I teach to young consumers myself, and they know something is going on. They know the prices are moving. However, they may also appreciate why they are moving and why we're slowly departing from this era of cheap food, cheap calories, really. And because you and I, when we grew up, I mean, it was all about buying whatever's on sale, really, at the grocery store. And it was really
Yeah.
about cheap food. We didn't know it then. In the 80s and 90s, it was really about cheap food. But now it's different. And we are expecting the average household to spend not 9-10% of its budget on food, but more like 12-13-14% in a few years from now. So that shift is being felt, I think, across the board. The other thing that I thought was interesting with this new study is that for the first time, we actually asked questions about shrinkflation. You and I, last time we spoke, we chatted about shrinkflation, but we want to know whether or not people are actually noticing. Are you noticing smaller packages, but prices aren't moving? And 3 out of 4 Canadians have actually noticed that shrinkflation is actually happening, which is more than I thought. So, and in that report, we also asked Canadians about, the usage of flyers, the usage of coupons, whether or not they're actually buying discounted products at the last minute. If the best before date is like today or tomorrow, are they going to be buying the Enjoy Tonight products? Things like that. And absolutely, I mean, a lot of Canadians have actually changed their ways of buying food overall in a grocery store, which is really, it's about hedging, right? It's like about hedging against inflation, and you want to save a bit of money, and people are taking advantage of it.
Well, it's about being a savvy consumer. And you also mentioned this upside, so to speak, of shrinkflation is that, it might reduce the package sizes to something that creates less waste. I mean, we probably buy too much in too big a size. You and I have talked many times on the podcast about how much are you wasting. You've done research on how much consumers are wasting. So I guess the upside is, I mean, when people are buying closer to best before dates, that's good, right? Because after a best before date is passed, that's not going to be sold. That's going to be thrown out. And there's probably nothing wrong with it, right? In many instances.
I don't know how you see it, Michael, but the way I see it is that the grocers are, I think, trying to empower consumers to become better food rescuers. You remember a few months ago, we interviewed Lori Nickel from Second Harvest. I mean, her business is about food rescuing. But now I think because of this food waste agenda, the food industry is actually empowering, because of food inflation, obviously. The industry is starting to empower the consumer to become better food rescuers overall, giving food a second or a third life, I guess. And it's quite timely because as we exit this pandemic, we're more food literate. We know more recipes. We can explore, try new things, and it's not like I remember in 2014 when beef prices went up 25% in a month. People walked away from the meat counter only for like a month. And then of course, prices kind of stabilized, and we all went back to our barbecues, and we all ate meat. But this time around, I mean, the market is a bit different. People can actually walk beyond the meat counter and do other things with different
Mm,
ingredients.
interesting. And let's talk about the role of government a little bit, because the best before date is a federal government mandated
Yeah.
regime. Now the government's taken the approach recently of we better do a better job educating people what that means. In other words, just because it says that in your fridge, don't throw it out on the next day. But for retailers, they really can't put a best before date product for sale after the date that's marked on it. Is there a role in government to kind of start tweaking that program? Is it even the wrong language? I mean, how do we even get our heads around that?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever spent time at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, but I mean, risk aversion is rampant at the
Right.
CFI. They do
Yeah.
not want to talk about this. They want to limit risk as much as possible. But I'll tell you what, I mean, on October 1st in Toronto, there's a new restaurant that's going to, not a new restaurant, but a new store, which will be opening up. It's pay what you want, pay what you think is worth. A food
Yeah.
store. I think the name of the store is "Pay What You Think Is Worth." That's the actual name of the store, and I can't remember on which street, but it's actually opening up on October 1st. You walk in, you buy what you can, what you want, and then you pay with no prices. You pay what you think it's worth, and a lot of these products. Well, the expiry date is very close, and so
Mm,
so it's going to be interesting to see if that becomes a popular trend. I'm not sure it will be successful because grocers are actually doing that already, and the food industry is
hmm.
trying to do that already. But
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things happening all at once. Flash food, different app getting you to buy products
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
So it's happening quite a lot more than before.
Mm.
Yeah,
Of course I wish them well, but I don't know about that one because I think it puts a lot of burden on consumers. There's a
you
reason
wouldn't
we don't.
go.
Well, how much is it? I don't know. Do I give you a dollar or 20? Like it's too much. I have to think too much. Like there's a reason why we don't haggle anymore, right? There's a reason why fixed pricing came to be the dominant model is because I don't want to have to think about what that's worth.
But and the Canadian culture is not about negotiation. I mean, we actually our
No.
culture is makes money a taboo topic. We don't know how much we earn. It's not okay to negotiate. You know, at the gas pump, it's all there. It's all figured out. You either want it or you don't. In other parts of the
Yeah.
world, it would work.
Very different. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, to pull in an analogy from a very different source. Remember Future Shop and Best Buy, right? So Future Shop format for electronics was you'd go in and you could haggle a little bit, right?
yeah,
The men and women there were on sales commission, but the Best Buy format was we'll just educate the salespeople and it's a fixed price. Maybe it goes on deal, maybe it doesn't, and that won
yeah.
out in Canada and the U.S. by the way too. Future Shop went away
It,
because
it,
people
it,
just say, just tell me how much, just tell me how much it is, just tell me how
exactly.
much.
And on the other end, to flip things a little bit in the car industry, you remember Saturn? I mean, Saturn was
Right.
exactly about a fixed price.
Yeah.
And we all know when we walk into a dealership, we have to negotiate,
Got
right?
to haggle. You don't feel like you come out of
All
there.
the
Yeah.
time. That's the
Yeah.
culture in that industry. Saturn came along saying, you know what? No haggling. This is the price. If you don't want it, walk away. And they actually closed. It ended.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Well,
It worked for a
you know,
while, but
it's interesting because I sometimes call it the gamification of retail. High low pricing is basically gamification, right? It's like it's
yeah.
fun. Back again to a different format. J.C. Penney in the States tried to go everyday low price, and people just stayed away in droves. They wanted the excitement of a coupon, a big deal, a hot deal, even if somehow they knew, you know what, that's pretty much what I should be paying for it anyway. Anyway, it's a good discussion
Oh
about
yeah.
consumer behavior.